Okay, so today we are here with the HPZ-2 Mini Workstation. We're going to be doing a nice review and deep dive into this thing. And let me just put it down carefully. I'm going to let you know I'm just referring to a couple notes I have taped to the camera because I don't have a teleprompter and I can't remember all this stuff, so it's just too much. But anyway, to get started, it's the HPZ-2 i7-8700. It's a 6-core, 12-thread, 3.2 gigahertz chip speed. It turbos up to 4.6. It's got it comes with 16 gigabyte of DDR4 RAM at 2600 megahertz. It has an Nvidia Quadro Pro 600, which is 4 gigabyte of video RAM, and it has a 512 NvMe hard drive in it. So those are the specs right out of the gates. Those are pretty good specs for a machine that comes in around $1,500. I think it's a really good deal. And I benchmarked it. I just set this one up. I benchmarked it. I got to work on it for a little bit, and I want to just kind of give you my impression of it, what I think it does well, what I think could be improved on a little bit, and then we're actually going to compare it to. I have a Pro desk here as well. And I mean, these machines are not in the same league. They're not in the same category. They're not going to be compared in terms of specs or anything like that. But later on, I'm going to open up the hood on the two machines and kind of compare them, and you can sort of see the difference in build quality and beefiness and robustness of the parts in the workstation versus the Pro desk, which is a couple of tiers below what this is. So let me get started. Like you've heard me say in a lot of my other videos, this thing has an NvMe hard drive, and I'm going to get into it again, why that's such a good thing. Right here, we've done this before. This is a solid-state hard drive, and that is a SATA interface on a solid-state hard drive. This is an NvMe hard drive, and you can see the interface where it connects to the motherboard is much different. And the performance is also much different. So I'm going to put some benchmark numbers up on the screen here in a minute, and just to explain what they mean. The top top line, but you have two columns here: reads and writes. The top is sequential reads and writes with 8 cores of the processor active. The second column is random reads and writes with 8 cores of the processor active. The third column is sequential reads and writes with a single core, and then random reads and writes with a single core. And those reads and writes are being done in 4 kilobyte chunks, which would just murder a mechanical hard drive. The numbers, if you did this with a mechanical, a non-solid state hard drive, would be terrible. But anyway, as you can see, this machine is in sequential, is doing about 3,500 megabytes per second reads and about 1,800 megabytes per second writes. And the writes don't even change from sequential to random. They're almost exactly the same. The reads go way down with random. But even at the 1,700 read speed, that is still, I mean, SATA, and again, the most expensive, this isn't it, but the most expensive SATA solid-state hard drive money can buy caps off at 550 read speed, tops. So this thing, even doing random reads, is still 3 times faster than a SATA drive. And that's why I like NvMe hard drives so much. And I'm going to put those numbers up again in a second so you can compare what the SATA numbers look like to what the NvMe numbers look like. So I'm not going to say any more about it in this. I've already harped on it. I mention it in almost every video I make. But anyway, as you can see, I'm a big NvMe hard drive fanboy, and this one comes with one, and it comes with a half a terabyte of storage, which is a little hard to find with NvMe's that come off the factory. So I like that in this machine. Secondly, it's got this tiny, mini, form factor for a workstation, mind you. It weighs about 5 pounds, and I mean, it's big for a mini. It is big, but it's a hell of a lot smaller than a typical, even a small form factor computer, which could still be a lot bigger and wider. So I love the form factor on this thing, and in a minute when we pop the hood on it, you're going to see how well it's laid out and how easy it is to work on, and that's a great thing too. So yeah, here we go, referring to some notes here. Great layout and easy to work on. That's just another thing that I'm going to get into more when we get under the hood. But it's really laid out well. It's got some nice high quality beefy parts in there. You can expand it very easily. You don't have to be an IT guy to work on something like this, and that's just a great plus. So you do have an expandable hard drive bay in this thing, so you could add a SATA hard drive to it if you wanted to. If you run out of storage with your 0.5 terabyte, you can still put a 2.5 in there, and you could add it up to whatever you want. You could put a solid state or a mechanical, as long as it's a 2.5 drive. We'll cover that in a minute, but it's nice that you can expand it, and you can expand the RAM up to 32 gigabytes if you want. And it came with less crapware than usual. So especially with HP, I love HP machines. You can see I review them all the time. I roll them out all the time. They're very reliable. They do great warranty work if you need it. But they do come with a lot of what I call crapware, which is just the factory installed software suites. A lot of the times they cause problems. They cause certain things to not work, such as like webinar software and things like that just randomly won't work, and you end up having to uninstall it later on anyway. So most of the time I just rip that stuff off. It's one of the first things I do when I roll these machines out. But this one came with almost none on it. So it's interesting, once you jump into their workstation line, they don't load them up with that stuff as much anymore. So that was a nice plus. And also the Nvidia Quadro card. So if you're not familiar with the difference between the Quadro cards and the GeForce cards, the GeForce being the gaming line, the Quadro cards are just better. Nvidia makes these things themselves. They uncap certain features on it. It's actually the Quadro cards that kind of paved the way for the gaming cards. I used to think it was the other way around, but I was wrong about that. There's plenty of people that have made videos on the difference, and you generally find the Quadros in the workstation. So it's nice. It's 4 gigabytes of RAM, VRAM, so it's not like unbelievable there, but it's good, and it's obviously tiny. Fits right in here. So that's a nice feature. So what are some of the cons about this machine? The fan does get very loud. The only time I really heard it kick up was when I did a Cinebench benchmark test. And it came in at, was about 14, I think 1410 was the Cinebench score, 146 FPS, not like that really matters, but I think it was a 1410 overall score. And why does that matter? Oh yeah, the fan. The fan did get pretty loud during that test. So if you were doing things that were really pushing this thing to its edge all the time, you would probably get sick of listening to that fan. When I was just doing basic stuff, I never heard anything kick up. It's basically silent. But, it remains to be seen. I mean, I didn't get to put it through the paces. I didn't get to edit a video in Premiere on it or anything like that. So I don't know if that fan would run constantly all the time. It probably wouldn't. It would probably just be like any other machine where it just kicks on for a minute when it gets hot and then it cools back down. But the fan's a little hot. The fan's a little loud. I will definitely say that. Windows 10 Pro does make a workstation version, and it is quite a bit more expensive. It's about twice the price of the regular Windows 10 Pro. But this being a workstation line, I'm a little surprised it doesn't come with Workstation Pro. Like if this isn't going to come with it, then what is? I mean, do you have to jump into like the $5,000 machine category just to get a slightly higher upgrade? I mean, it comes at all the workstation machines that won Windows Workstation Pro all benchmark higher than their counterparts on Windows Pro. And it has a different file system and things like that. So I'd like to start seeing machines like this come with Windows 10 Pro Workstation. It's just something I'm throwing out there. I mean, if we're looking for cons, that could be one of them. The RAM only runs at 24 megahertz, although it's 2666 is its actual clock speed. That's a limitation of the CPU. Now the 8700, I think is a good deal, bang for the buck. It's an expensive processor. I think it's $300 or $400. And it's a good value, bang for the buck. Its K counterpart kicks its ass. I'd love to see this come with an 8700K. I don't know if they put those in workstations or if that's just an enthusiast chip. It gets a little bit above my pay grade with that. But either that or like a 7820X, whatever. I see where it is. It's coming in at $1,500, but there are other models in this same price range that come with the X processors. So that would have been nice to see. And the machine is capped at 32 gigabytes of RAM. So this particular model came with a 16 gigabyte RAM stick, and then there's one open SODIMM slot, so you could upgrade it to 32. and that's the max for this machine. It would be easy enough to do, and it's not like a super expensive upgrade. I just think for a workstation, if you're doing proper design work on it, 32 could be a little bit of a limitation, depending on what you do. It's certainly with programs like After Effects and Premiere, and even heavy Photoshop can approach those levels of RAM usage. So I don't see it as a major drawback, but it's just something to be aware of. If you're looking at one of these things, just know that is a factor. And then another thing that kind of surprised me, no TPM on this thing. So encrypting it, now it has an option to come with self-encrypting drives, and I'm just like, how does that even work? Like, I don't know, because I've never bought a machine with a self-encrypting drive, and I don't know how that works. I don't know how secure it really is. I don't know what your fallback is if you end up having to do a drive swap, or if you need to unencrypt it to do something, or how does it handle like BIOS upgrades and things like that. Because I mean, when you get into encryption, I mean, I understand how BitLocker works. I understand how Veracrypt and some of the third-party tools work, but I don't know how these proprietary self-encrypting drives work. I guess it's something I could do some research on. Maybe somebody can shed some light on it, but I'm not wild about that. I mean, here we have right next to it, and this is like a $600 Pro desk. It's two tiers down. You have your workstations, you have your Elite desks, and then you have your Pro desks beneath that. I mean, and these are like basically bottom tier machines, and these things come with TPMs in them. So why doesn't the workstation? That's just bizarre to me. So that is kind of a major complaint to me. But other than that, it's a very decent machine. Like I said, it comes in around $1,500, and I think for that you're getting a pretty good deal. So now let's go under the hood. We're going to go under the hood on this thing, and we're going to go under the hood on the Pro desk, since I have one here, and we can kind of compare the components and just look at what they look like. All right, lighting is a challenge for me, so I apologize for that. That's something I'm always kind of struggling with. So you can see back here, real quick, you have your three display ports, so you can power 3 monitors with this right out of the gates. That's where you plug in the power supply. Oh, by the way, it does have a 230 watt power supply. I meant to mention this in the other section. So that is the power supply. Compared to, I wish you could see something I could compare it to, but anyway, it's pretty big. It's a 230 watt power supply, so it's bigger than like any laptop power supply that you'll ever find. It doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to be taking this thing with you everywhere you go, but it is just something to be aware of, is that it does come with a big brick. So anyway, getting back to the machine itself, on this side, you again have 2 USBs and a USB Type-C, and I think most of these are charging. Then on the back, you have your Ethernet, 2 USBs. These are expansion ports, 3 display ports, another USB Type-C, and where the power comes in. This side, nothing, and then this side is just the power button right here. So, getting back to the back of the machine, you just see this switch right here, and that's all it takes to pop this thing open. Fortunately, it's hard to do in reverse, so bear with me. So you just pop that thing open, and just like that, we're popping the hood. So you get a little bit of a roadmap on the bottom side of this as to what you're looking at, and they come obviously with different configurations. So just something so you know that when you pop that off, you can sort of see what's what. So let me flip this around, because we're going to look at it more this way. Let me zoom it out just a tiny bit. So this is actually your CPU and your CPU fan, and the graphics card is over here, and then you have another fan right here. So right out of the gates, you're going to see that you have 2 fans, whereas the regular machines like this Pro Desk right here only come with 1. There's really only one tool that you need to go any further into it. So you can flip this up and see underneath, that's your RAM bay. So, this one actually did come with 2 sticks. So if you wanted to upgrade, you'd probably have to get 2, those must be 2 8 gig sticks. And they are Samsung. It is Samsung RAM, by the way, so it's name brand. Yep, those are two 8 gig sticks. So if you wanted to upgrade this thing, you'd have to scrap what it came with and buy two 16 gig sticks if you wanted to jump up to 32. So you got that there. And then obviously, as you can probably see, the CPU socket is right here. So there's nothing else going on this side. And then on this side, this is your expandable SATA bay. And this is the only tool you need right here. You just need a Torx for this one screw. So let me show you that. Right here. Sorry. Right there. So you just throw the Torx in. Take your one screw. You know how it goes. And you can take this out. So these are just placeholders, and this is the expandable SATA bay. Obviously, it doesn't come with the extra drive. These things are just little placeholders. You would probably be swapping those out for hard drive screws, and that would be actually the hard drive screws would probably go there. So these are just like placeholders. You're not gonna probably use those. And then you can see that it comes with this little SATA. That's that would go into the back of the drive on that side, and then on this side, you have your basically your SATA data connection, which is right here, and then there's just a little 2-pin power thing right there. I'm not gonna pull them out just to see them, but where they would plug in is, let's see, almost have to like flip this thing upside down, but there is a right here and right here. I know it's really hard to see. Unfortunately, I don't have lighting that faces in this direction, but basically, take my word for it. There's a SATA. There's a little 2-pin power thing right there, and then there's a SATA thing, a SATA data connection right there, and they're right next to the hard drive bay, so it's not like you're going to have trouble finding it. And then just below that, just underneath this fan is where your underneath this fan, right below that is where your NvMe hard drive lives. If you need to get to that, and then again, there's one Torx screw right here. You'd unscrew that, and then you could lift this fan up. And other than that, there's not much else on this board that you're going to be messing with, I don't think. So, anyway, I mean, that's it. So basically, you get your RAM right here, you lift this fan up, you get your access to your 2 RAM bays, and then right here, you got your expandable SATA bay, and that just screws in right here. So to put this thing back, obviously super easy. And then if you needed to get at your NvMe hard drive, one screw right here with a Torx, pull that out, and you get access to your NvMe hard drive just below it. So to put this thing back, you can see that there are some blue, and I did my first time around. I did need to learn this. You have little blue tabs right here and right here, and inside the thing, you can see little blue tabs here and here. So what you want to do is when you put this thing back together, you gotta kind of hinge these under here. It's a little weird, but not that big of a deal. It just takes a little getting used to. You got to do it a couple times. As you can see, I've mastered it. Genius on the loose. Oh, you know what it is? Now I figured. This is why it always throws me for a loop. Is because there's a little slot. I always try to get it underneath here, and there's actually a little slot right here that, and I mean, this isn't a major thing. It's just something to know. You have to get this little piece to hook into that slot, and it's really easy to not see that. So then once you figure that piece out, you're good. You're back in, and then you just screw this back in. It's one Torx screw here. And there you go. So if you wanted to throw a SATA hard drive in here, you could throw it in, and then you just plug this connector into the back of your SATA drive, and then you take these two, and they go right under here. You can't miss them. There's only really one place to plug them in. Then when you are done and you want to button it back up, it's really nice. It tells you on the thing itself. I'm just blocking serial numbers and stuff. Just tells you to the front of board, face that to the front, and then underneath the board there's a you can see it says front right there. 2 hours later, I can get the cap back on, I'm sure. It's just like the other thing. There you go. Just once you slide it in, you know, you'll know it when you get it in, and then it's on this side it's just boom and then done. Now you can see that the top is secured; it's not coming off, and you can also see that our lock is reset right here. So really nice, so easy to work on, and you'll definitely notice. Compare this to this, and you will feel a big weight difference between the two. I mean, obviously, this is nowhere near the machine. Now, what this is a little pro desk, and I mean, I'm done with the review of the HPZ, so this is just bonus now at this point. But this is a little HP Pro Desk. It's like a $650 machine. It's nothing special. But I was just gonna pop the hood on this thing and just kind of show you the difference. Now on this one, on the Pro Desk, now on the Elite Desk, it's just like the workstation. You've got a little, like a toggle switch. You hit that and then you can pop the top off. On this one, you have to, it's a manual screw. Not that that's not a knock. It's not a big deal at all, obviously. But just something to know. So actually the little trick with these is you flip them upside down after you take that screw off, and actually it's like this, and then you press on the kind of popped out portion right there, and you can see it splits the cover. So then you can very easily just take the cover off, boom, and now. Again, we are now looking at a Pro Desk model and not the workstation model. But still, you still have, I mean, so you can see obviously only one fan here, and this is definitely not a fan that's on the same quality level as the other one. These things love to come off on me, so I don't want to play with it too much. But CPU sockets right under here, 2 RAM bays right here. I don't remember what they're expandable to. This one came with 8. This isn't a machine you'd put heavy RAM into. I mean, I wouldn't see why you'd ever put more than 16 in something like this, and even that would be overkill for most use cases. Expandable SATA bay right here. And this one, yeah, it is removable, I think, because obviously the NvMe is underneath. So you get 2 Torx screws here and 2 Torx screws here, and then I think this would just pop right off, and you could get to the NvMe underneath if you needed to. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else going on. Under here is BIOS chip right here. That's your expandable. This is an expandable display port. You can see it's a little riser card to put a 3rd display port back here. So, and there's the riser card on the inside. And yeah, pretty much it. But I mean, I can tell you when you have them side by side like this, and you're under the hood on the HPZ, and then you go under the hood on this, you can see it's a world of difference in terms of what you're looking at hardware wise. So that's it. I just wanted to kind of just give you a little comparison. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of the smaller form factor machines. I just like having the real estate back on the desk. And I think clients just love it when you walk in with these things. They just look like, it just looks like you're in 2018 now. When you come into an office with, and they're working on 10-year-old workstations that run Windows 7 that are giant, and they eat a lot of power. They have the worst performance you can possibly imagine. They're just slow. They crash all the time, and they're big, and they take up all this room. And then I walk in there with 6 of these things and maybe 1 of these for their designer, and it's like they just went back to the future. So it's I'm gonna kind of sign off here. Yeah, that was a good idea, right? So anyway, they just make a great impression on the client, and they're awesome workstations and regular machines. So that being said, that's my review of the HPZ Mini. Really good machine. I'm going to put the, did I say the Cinebench score was 1410? Anyway, I'll put all the benchmark numbers up. You can have a look at it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like these things? Do you not like these things? Are there machines that you guys would like to see reviewed? Are these reviews helpful, or do I just talk too much? I mean, what's going on? You tell me. Have a good one, and thank you for watching.